The forbidden jungle Verdros 9, a planet of endless green, alive with color, danger, and secrets. The alien girl Zirala had been warned never to enter the deeper zones of the jungle. Her elders told her stories of hunters swallowed whole, of flowers that screamed, and of vines that moved like snakes. But curiosity is a powerful thing, and today, her curiosity burned brighter than her fear. Her exploration team was busy collecting samples. She wandered off quietly, her soft feet making no sound as she followed a strange sound deeper into the forest. It was like a whisper, a hum, not from a creature, but a machine. She climbed over a moss-covered log and saw it, a broken human ship. Its metal body was half buried in the jungle floor. Smoke rose from one side. The heat sensors on her wrist flickered red, but she didn't move. Her kind called humans violent, reckless, dangerous, but she had never seen one, not in real life. And now one stepped out from the wreck. He was tall, scarred, and alert, wearing black gear with cuts and burns across the chest. He looked around, holding a weapon in one hand and a scanner in the other. His dark eyes moved, fast like a predator's. Zirala gasped and ducked behind a tree. Her heart pounded in her chest. A human. Here? But then she noticed something strange. He wasn't running. He wasn't calling for help. He simply sat down and sighed. He looked tired, hurt, alone. Why isn't he dangerous? She leaned closer, trying to get a better look. But her foot landed on a soft patch of vines. Too soft. Before she could scream, the ground opened beneath her like a mouth. Thick green vines whipped around her arms and legs, yanking her downward. Her body was pulled into a tunnel of writhing plant flesh. She fought, screamed, kicked, but the plant didn't care. It dragged her inside, where it was dark, wet, and breathing. Inside the plant, glowing slime clung to her body. The heat grew unbearable. Her suit began to burn. She realized the plant was digesting her alive. No one saw her fall. No one heard her cry, except one human. Captain Reichharper froze when he heard a scream, sharp, sudden, and alien. He grabbed his blade and rushed toward the sound. The ground, near a huge flower, trembled. Vines moved like snakes. A fleshy green sac throbbed in the middle, and someone, was trapped inside. He didn't think. He acted. Reek tossed a heat flare into the air to distract the plant, then dashed forward, pulling out his plasma knife. The vine whipped toward him, but he dodged and sliced into the glowing sac. Acid sprayed across his sleeve, but he didn't stop. A hand appeared, small, alien, blue. He grabbed it. With one hard pull, he yanked her out, her body covered in slime, and half unconscious. Her purple eyes met his for a second, wide with fear and confusion. Then she passed out in his arms. Rick dragged her to his makeshift camp. He didn't know what species she was. He didn't care. She was breathing. Barely. He cleaned the acid off her skin with emergency gel, wrapped her in a heat blanket, and started a fire. She was light, almost fragile, with patterns across her cheeks and small, sharp claws on her fingers. Her body shivered. He placed his own jacket over her. As the fire crackled, she stirred. Her eyes fluttered open. And then, panic. She pushed away from him, crawling back with wide, furious eyes. "You, human, don't touch me," she hissed in a voice trembling with both pain and pride. "You were inside the plant," Reek said calmly. "It was eating you." "I didn't ask for your help," she shouted, her voice sharp. "You shouldn't even be here. It's forbidden." Rick looked at her, tired. "Yeah? Well, crashing wasn't in my plan either." She stared at him, breathing heavily. His voice wasn't angry. It wasn't even proud. It was just real. "I didn't hurt you," he added. "I saved you." Zirala looked down at herself, the warmth of the blanket still around her. Her skin stung from the plant's burn. But she was alive, because of him. The jungle around them made low, hungry noises. She looked up at the human once more. Her lips parted slightly, not in anger now, but confusion. Why would a human help someone like her? The plant with a pulse. The jungle was quiet, too quiet. Captain Rick Harper stood at the edge of the firelight, scanning the trees with his weapon drawn. He didn't trust this silence, not after what he saw that plant do to the alien girl. It wasn't just a predator. It was intelligent. It had baited her. Behind him, Zirala sat wrapped in the emergency blanket, her large violet eyes following his every move. Her skin was still sore, her pride even more so. She hated being saved by a human. But more than that, she hated that she wasn't sure how to feel about him. Rick moved slowly around the camp, planting small motion-triggered sensors. "Whatever dragged you down might not be alone," he said, not turning to face her. "I've seen plants eat rats before. Never a whole person." "It wasn't supposed to be here," Zirala said quietly, voice shaky. "That species, it's extinct." Rick finally looked at her. "Doesn't look extinct to me." Zirala shivered, remembering the moment. The feeling of being grabbed, the smell of that plant's acidic breath, and the soft beat inside its chamber. That was the strangest part. "It had a pulse," she whispered. Rick's eyes narrowed. "A pulse?" Zirala nodded. "It was like it had a heart." They moved out at first light. Zirala walked slowly, limping slightly, but refused help. Rick didn't push her. He just handed her a protein bar and led the way with his scanner. They returned to the site where it happened. Nothing. No pulsing vines, no giant sac, just flowers. Beautiful, bright red flowers with long stems and dew that sparkled like crystals. "It's hiding," Zirala whispered. Rick crouched and placed a heat sensor near one of the flowers. "Plants don't hide. This one does," she said. "It felt me. It studied me. Then it attacked." Rick didn't answer, but something about this made his stomach tighten. Suddenly the scanner beeped. Movement. Below. He grabbed her wrist and pulled her back just as a vine shot out of the dirt, right where she'd been standing. Zirala screamed and stumbled, but Rick caught her. He pulled her behind a large fallen tree as more vines burst from the ground. The red flowers twisted toward them, turning. "They're watching us," Zirala gasped. The vines moved like snakes, circling slowly, waiting. "Rick!" cursed under his breath and pulled a flare from his belt. He lit it and tossed it high into the air. The bright light confused the plant. Its vines froze. "This is our shot," he shouted. He ran forward and slashed the nearest vine with his blade, clearing the way. Zirala hesitated, then followed. They dived into a thick wall of leaves and rolled down a slope, landing hard near a creek. Water splashed around them. The jungle screamed behind them, angry. Breathing hard, they lay side by side. Zirala stared up at the green ceiling of the forest. "That plant. It's not just hunting. It's learning." Rick sat up. "Which means it'll be back." He glanced at her, the way she clenched her fists, trying not to show fear. She was brave, stubborn, and clearly raised to hate humans. But in that moment, she didn't look like someone who hated him. She looked like someone who needed an ally. "Come on," he said, standing. "We need to move. That thing knows us now." Zirala stood slowly. "I don't understand you, human. Why did you come back for me?" Rick shrugged. "You were alive. That's enough." She stared at him like he'd just spoken a different language. "But I'm your enemy." Rick turned to her. "You were drowning in acid. Enemy or not, I don't let people die like that." They made camp that night in a small cave behind a waterfall. The sound of water helped hide their presence. Zirala sat near the fire, her back straight. "We can't kill it," she said quietly. "The plant." Rick looked at her. "Why not?" "Because it's not just one," she replied. "It's part of a network, underground, If we attack one, others might wake up. Like a hive? Rick asked. She nodded. A breathing, growing hive. Rick sighed. So, we're stuck in a forest of angry, thinking, man-eating plants. Zirala glanced at him. Correction. Human-eating and alien-eating. He smirked. Fair enough. For the first time, she smiled back. Just a little, but far away, deep. In the jungle roots, something pulsed again. A slow, strong thump, like a heartbeat, and this time it was faster. She wasn't supposed to speak to humans. Zirala sat by the fire, her long fingers curled tightly around her knees. She was silent, watching the flames, listening to the waterfall behind them. But in her mind, there was chaos. She was an elite, scout from the Virali caste, trained to observe, report, and never engage, especially not with humans. They were considered unpredictable, violent, emotional, dangerous. And yet, here she was, hiding in a cave with one, eating the food he gave her, sleeping in the warmth of his fire, and most of all, alive because he had touched her. She looked down at her arm. Faint scars from the plant's acidic slime still marked her blue skin. She remembered his hands, how they didn't hesitate to pull her from that monster. How was she supposed to feel? Rick sat a few feet away, checking the power level on his comlink. Still dead. Still no signal. His ship was wrecked beyond use, and this jungle planet clearly wanted them both dead. He looked over at Zirala. She hadn't spoken for almost an hour. You're quiet, he said. She didn't answer at first. I'm thinking, she finally said. About what? Why you're not like the others I was taught about. He raised an eyebrow. Others? Our elders teach us that humans are primitive, dangerous, that you react with your hearts, not your minds. Rick chuckled. That's not completely wrong. Zirala looked at him. Her expression was serious. You pulled me out of that plant, knowing I was alien, knowing I might turn you in. Why? He didn't blink. Because no one else was coming. Zirala's throat tightened. Back home, everything was strict. Duty, honor, silence. No emotions. No attachments. She'd never heard anyone speak like this human did. His words were simple, but they felt real. She turned her head away. You shouldn't have touched me, she whispered. It's against our code. Even speaking to you is a crime. Rick sighed. Well, I already broke your plant, might as well break a few more rules. She looked back at him sharply, almost offended, but his smirk softened her stare. You joke too much, she said. He shrugged. Or maybe you don't joke enough. Suddenly the fire flickered. Zirala's eyes darted to the cave entrance. Something's near. Rick stood, hand on his weapon. A soft rustle, almost like leaves brushing stone, echoed through the waterfall. Then, a voice, but not one from a throat. It was inside their heads. Return. The seed. Zirala clutched her temple. It's speaking through the spores. Rick scanned the area. What seed? We didn't take anything. Zirala's eyes widened in horror. She slowly reached toward her belt, where a small crystal-like pod pulsed faintly. When I was pulled in, this must have attached to me. I didn't notice. Suddenly, the vines outside the cave twitched to life. The jungle had found them again. Rick grabbed her arm. We're running. No, wait. Zirala hesitated, heart pounding. If I give it back, maybe it will leave us alone. Or maybe it'll just eat you again. They bolted out through a side tunnel in the cave, smashing through moss and stone as vines lashed out behind them. One nearly caught Reich's leg, but he rolled away and kept running. Zirala used her claws to slash at the smaller plants, trying to trap them. She wasn't trained for escape. She wasn't trained for this, but the human was. He grabbed a nearby flare and tossed it at the roots. The fire burst and made the vines recoil with a shriek. They ran until their lungs burned, finally crashing, down behind a fallen rock wall covered in fungus. Zirala gasped for air. We have to return the seed, but safely. We can't fight the jungle, it knows us now. Later, as they rested in silence, Zirala spoke again. I've broken caste law. I've let a human touch me. I've fought beside him. I've spoken to him more than I ever spoke to my own team. Rick didn't respond immediately. Then he said quietly, "Do you regret it?" She hesitated, then shook her head. No. There was a long pause. The air between them wasn't tense now. It was heavy with understanding. I wasn't supposed to see your kind this way, she said. You were supposed to be the enemy. And you were supposed to run screaming, Rick said with a small smile. Zirala looked at him and whispered, Maybe I should have. But she didn't move away. Meanwhile, deep in the roots of the jungle, the plant intelligence pulsed again. It had felt their minds, the alien girl's thoughts, the humans' memories. It would adapt. It would evolve. It wanted the seed back. And now, it wanted more than that. Hunters in the green, the jungle never truly slept. Even when the sun dipped behind the blue fog and the shadows grew long, something was always moving, watching, crawling, just outside the edge of the firelight. Zirala sat with her back against a twisted tree trunk, her claws gripped tightly around the seed pod still pulsing in her pouch. The glow was brighter now, like a tiny heartbeat. It wasn't just a plant seed. It was alive, a mind, and it was calling others. Across from her, Rick was sharpening a bone blade he'd carved after they lost their last weapon to a vine trap. His skin was marked with tiny cuts, sweat on his brow, but his eyes were calm, always scanning the dark. You should sleep, Zirala whispered. He didn't look up. You're more tired than me. I've trained for days without sleep. So, have I. But I've also fought jungle ghosts. You? Zirala gave him a small smile. No ghosts, just nightmares. He nodded. Same difference. Suddenly, a sound snapped through the silence. Click, click, click. Zirala froze. That wasn't a vine. That wasn't a tree. It was the sound of claws on stone. Rick rose slowly. Get behind me. Zirala stood too, pulling the seed pod from her pouch. It now glowed a soft red. Out of the mist, a shape appeared. Then another, and another. Six-legged creatures, their bodies thin but strong, with leafy hides and long black eyes. Biohunters. Jungle predators born from the plants themselves. A perfect mix of animal and fungus. They're not just plants anymore, Zirala whispered. They're creating life. Rick tightened his grip on the blade. Then let's make sure they regret it. The first hunter lunged. Rick dodged left, stabbing upward. The blade slid through the soft part of its neck, and the creature shrieked. Like tearing metal. Zirala spun and slashed another across the face. Her claws weren't just sharp. They burned the creature's skin. She had venom in her nails, a gift of her caste, but they were outnumbered. The hunters surrounded them, circling fast, smarter than wild beasts. Each one moved in rhythm like dancers trained by something greater. Zirala held the seed tightly. It's them, the hive. It's controlling these creatures. Rick's back bumped into hers. Then we destroy the controller. But we don't know where it is. A hunter leapt from a tree above, and Rick caught it midair with a punch. Slamming it into the earth, I'll find it. You cover me. They ran, through tangled roots, over glowing mushrooms, under twisted branches. The hunters followed, screeching and howling behind them. Rick's boots slammed into the dirt as he scanned the land with a soldier's eyes. He was looking for the center, the source of movement, something that stood out. Then he saw it. A massive, flower-like structure built into a hollow tree, its petals opening and closing like a mouth. At the center was a pulsating red brain-shaped bulb, the hive node. Rick shouted, There! Zirala stopped, panting. If I throw the seed in, they might all die. Or we might. She looked at him, eyes fierce. I'll do it anyway. She leapt forward, dodging a hunter and spinning through the air like a comet. Her body hit the base of the hive tree, and she shoved the seed deep into its heart. For a moment, nothing. Then, a blast of energy pulsed out like a shock wave. Red vines twisted, burned, and collapsed inward. The hunters screamed and dropped, twitching violently before going still. The jungle shook as if it were in pain. Silence fell again. The plant hive wilted. Its petals turned black. The air smelled of burned flowers and hot sap. Rick rushed to Zirala, who lay on the ground, weak but alive. "You're insane," he said. "I had no choice," she whispered, half smiling. "You would have done the same." He helped her up. They stood there among the fallen beasts and dying vines, breathing the heavy air. Zirala touched her chest. "I feel different." "Like what?" "Like the seed left something behind." They looked down. Tiny green marks had appeared on her arm, faint, leaf-like patterns under her skin. Far beneath the jungle, something stirred. The hive mind was damaged, but not dead. It now recognized her, and it would come again. But this time, not with claws. This time, it wanted her back. The fire inside her Zirala's fingers trembled, not from fear, not from cold, but from something growing inside her. The green marks on her skin had spread overnight, tiny glowing veins that pulsed faintly beneath the surface. They weren't just decoration. She could feel them, moving, whispering, heating her blood. She sat by the river's edge, staring at her reflection. Her eyes weren't the same either. The violet was now mixed with flecks of bright green, alive, alien. Behind her, Rick filled their canteen and watched with concern. "They're spreading faster." Zirala nodded, silent. "It's from the seed," he added. "It marked you." "No," she whispered. "It merged with me." They walked through the jungle slowly that day. The plants seemed calmer now. The vines didn't lash. The flowers didn't track them with their petals. It was almost like the jungle recognized her. But the strange peace didn't calm Rick. "I don't trust it," he muttered. "You should be afraid," Zirala said. "This jungle is watching, but now it's watching through me." He looked at her carefully. "You still you?" She turned toward him. Her voice was firm. "Yes, but something is waking up inside me. A link to the hive, a connection I can't turn off." Rick didn't answer for a moment, then he said, "Then we stay close. If you start talking in vines, I'll knock you out." She actually laughed. That night, the fever came. Zirala curled on the forest floor, shaking and sweating. Her body burned from the inside out, her mind filled with strange images, roots wrapping stars, flowers whispering secrets, and a massive green eye beneath the soil, always open. Rick placed a cool cloth on her forehead. "Stay with me," she gasped. "It's trying to take me. Fight it. I don't know if I can. You're stronger than this. You survived the plant, the hunters, the hive. Don't let this win now." Tears ran down her cheeks. "It wants to use me, control me." He leaned close. "Then let it see. What happens when it messes with someone who has me on their side?" Hours passed. Zirala's body stopped shaking. Her skin cooled. When her eyes opened again, they glowed softly green. But she was still Zirala. "It spoke to me," she whispered. "The hive. It's confused. It doesn't understand humans. It doesn't understand choice." Rick raised an eyebrow. "Good, let it stay confused." "No," she said, sitting up slowly. "I think I can use it. I can hear its voice now. I can track it. There's a core, deep in the jungle. If we destroy that, we end this for good." Rick stood. "Then we move before it grows stronger." They traveled for hours. The deeper they went, the stranger the jungle became. Trees bent toward them. Flowers bloomed in their path. The jungle was guiding them now, responding to Zirala's presence. At one point, she touched a dead tree and it bloomed instantly, leaves glowing. Rick watched in awe. "You're like Jungle royalty now? She smiled weakly. Then bow to your queen. He gave her a playful smirk. Only if you stop glowing in your sleep. Finally, they reached the center, a giant crater in the middle of the jungle. At the bottom was a massive pod, 10 times larger than the one that swallowed her. This was the hive core, half plant, half organism, beating like a living heart. Rick stepped forward. We blow it up? No, Zerala said. We burn it from inside. She placed a hand on her chest. I can channel the fire it left in me. He grabbed her arm. That could kill you. She looked into his eyes. I was supposed to die in that plant. You gave me back my life. Let me use it for something. He shook his head. Not like this, we'll find another way. There isn't one. She stepped forward and raised her hand toward the hive. Her markings lit up. Bright green lines flashed across her body, crackling like electricity. The hive shook violently. The vines around the crater screamed. But Zerala stood firm. She poured. The heat from her blood, the fire inside her, into the core. The hive roared. The ground split. Rick rushed forward, shouting her name. But a wall of vines blocked him. Then, silence. The hive pod split open. Green fire burst out, scorching the air, and standing in the center was Zerala, alive. Her markings now dim, her eyes her own. She stumbled toward Reek, weak but smiling. It's gone, she whispered. The voice is silent. He caught her before she fell. Told you. You're stronger. She looked up at him, eyes soft. You made me stronger. Her people arrive. With guns a cold wind moved through the jungle, but the trees did not sway. Everything was still, too still, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. Zerala sat quietly on a moss-covered stone, her hands resting on her knees, her body covered in dried mud and faint green lines. Her connection to the hive was gone now. The whispers in her mind were silent. She was free. Rick stood beside her, holding a small scanner made from scrap. He tapped the screen, then looked up at the sky. Something's coming. Zerala's body stiffened. Human ships? No, Rick said. Yours. A sharp hum filled the air. Moments later, shadows passed over the treetops. Dozens of black-armored dropships pierced through the mist and hovered above them. The jungle, so alive before, now seemed afraid. Even the birds fell silent. Zerala stood slowly. It's the High Guard, my caste. As the dropships opened, elite alien soldiers in shimmering silver armor dropped down in formation, their weapons pointed, outward scanning, ready to fire. Their helmets bore the mark of the Vairali elite, Zerala's own symbol, twisted to look colder than she remembered. A tall figure stepped forward. His voice was sharp, empty. Zerala of Caste 3, you are under arrest. Rick stepped protectively in front of her. Back off, she's done nothing wrong. Every rifle turned to him. The alien commander tilted his head. A human dares speak in our presence? Zerala pushed past Rick. He saved my life. He destroyed the hive with me. You bonded with an outsider. You brought shame to your bloodline, the commander replied. You touched him. You spoke to him. That is forbidden. Her jaw tightened. What is forbidden? Save this jungle. My caste did nothing while people died. He acted. The commander raised a hand. Take the human, he ordered. Execute him at sunrise. The guard surged forward. Zerala moved fast, blocking Rick with her body. If you take him, she shouted, you'll have to shoot me first. The entire jungle seemed to shudder. Even the vines twitched. The commander's voice dropped low. You dare protect him? I do. Then you will face the bond of truth. Zerala blinked. But that's only used in court trials. You've already broken all other rules, he snapped. If you speak the truth and if he truly saved you with pure intent, then the bond will show it. But if you lie, both of you die. Reek glanced at her. Sounds fair. Zerala frowned. It's not. It's dangerous. He smirked. So am I. They were taken into a ritual chamber, deep beneath the jungle in an ancient root temple, built long ago by her ancestors. The walls were alive with glowing roots. A circle of elders sat in silence, watching. At the center of the chamber stood the Pillar of Thought, a living artifact. When two people placed their hands on it, it read their minds and shared only truth with everyone present. Zirala turned to Rick. Once it begins, we can't hide anything, not even feelings. He nodded. Then let's do it. They stepped forward together, placing their palms on the pulsating pillar. The chamber darkened. Light poured from the roots, wrapping around them both. A low hum filled the space. The bond had begun. Zirala gasped as her memories flooded the air, her fear inside the plant, the panic, the pain, and Rick's face as he tore open the vines to pull her free. The elders saw it all. Then came Rick's memories, his lonely crash, his decision to help a stranger the moment he chose not to run, and the way he looked at her by the fire, wondering why an alien girl with claws and fire in her blood could feel so human. The truth shimmered in the air like fireflies. They were not enemies. They were something new. The light faded. The pillar went still. Silence fell. The elder at the center finally spoke. The human is innocent. His actions were honorable. Her bond is real. The commander clenched his fists. So what now? She walks away free? The elder stood. No. She walks away changed. Zirala of Casta 3 is no longer a scout. She is now a truth-bound. And the human is under her protection. Rick raised an eyebrow. What's that mean? Zirala turned to him, smiling, faintly. It means if anyone tries to kill you now, they have to kill me first. The soldiers lowered their weapons. For the first time in her life, Zirala wasn't just obeying the caste. She was rewriting it. And the jungle seemed to approve. The bond that changed everything. The sun rose over Verdros 9 with a soft golden light, shining through the trees like warm fingers. The jungle, once wild and cruel, now hummed gently, as if it had witnessed something sacred. Zirala stood on a high ridge, overlooking the place where the hive core had once pulsed with menace. Now only quiet ash remained, covered in new green shoots, life returning where death once ruled. But inside her, something even greater had changed. She was no longer just a scout, no longer just a name in the caste system. She was truth-bound, and her truth had been seen by all. Rick walked up behind her, his boots soft on the moss-covered stone. No guards today? He asked. Zirala smiled without turning. They're afraid of you now. He raised a brow. Really? She nodded. The one who made the jungle scream, the one who touched a virali and lived. He chuckled. That's going on my resume. But his eyes softened as he looked at her. Are you sure about this? He asked. Zirala finally turned. Her armor was gone, replaced by ceremonial robes, white and green, symbols of peace and rebirth. I'm more sure of this than anything, she said. The bond changed more than just how my people see you. It changed me. Later that day, the elders held a gathering in the living amphitheater, an open space formed from tree roots and glowing stone. Alien leaders from across the region sat in a wide circle, staring at the strange pair standing in the center, the human outsider and the once restricted alien girl who had broken every rule. The High Elder stood. Speak, Zirala. She stepped forward. My people once believed humans were dangerous, unworthy of trust. We were told to fear them. But in the jungle, I learned something powerful. She looked to Rick. That strength is not the same as violence, and trust is not weakness. He didn't save me because I was useful. He saved me because it was right. The crowd murmured. Zirala continued, louder now. I broke our laws. I touched a human. I stood beside him in battle, and I placed my mind beside his in the bond of truth. I don't regret a single moment. She paused. then lifted her head high. If that makes me an outcast, and then I accept it. But the elders did not shout. They stood, one by one, until all were standing, not in punishment, but in honor. After the ceremony, Rick leaned against a tree and watched as alien children ran through the vines, playing games that didn't exist days ago. Soldiers spoke freely. Even elders laughed. Zirala joined him, her eyes full of wonder. "You changed more than just me, human." He gave her a look. "You sure I didn't ruin your political career?" She grinned. "You ruined my silence, my rules, my loneliness." Then, she grew quiet. "There's something else." He turned to her, serious now. "I've been chosen to represent the truth-bound, off-world, across planets, to speak about unity." Reek's eyes narrowed. "That sounds like a long trip," she nodded. "It is." They stood in silence for a moment. Then he asked, "Do you want to go alone?" Zirala looked up, lips parting just slightly. "Would you come with me?" He smiled. "I've been through worse jungles." That night, under the glowing canopy of stars and bioluminescent trees, the jungle lit up in soft green pulses, the same pattern that once glowed on her skin. It was the jungle's way of saying, "We remember." The plants had learned from her. The hive, once cold and cruel, had been replaced with something new, something that listened. Zirala stood beside Reek, now dressed in traveler's gear. Their ship was ready. "I never imagined I'd trust a human," she said softly. "And I never imagined I'd follow an alien into politics," he replied. She looked at him. "Are you ready?" He reached out and gently took her hand. "Let's rewrite the galaxy." As the ship lifted into the sky, the jungle below pulsed one last time, green and calm, not in anger, not in fear, but in peace, because once a girl was swallowed by a monster, and a human pulled her out, just in time.